Oh, yeah, I've done this before, I swear, but not on my game tonight, everyone. There we are. Everyone, I am Jacob Winograd. I am the host of the Biblical Anarchy podcast here at the Libertarian Christian Institute, which is part of our Christians for Liberty network. Glad to be with you guys here live in the green room again for week 5 of the Provoked book club. Of course, Provoked being the giant manuscript textbook foreign policy Bible written by the one and only Scott Horton. And I'm here joined by my lovely co-hosts of this shindig, fellow podcasters, fellow libertarian ANCAPs, Shawn Collins of Buds and Reality and Mark Pauls of Knocked Conscious. How are you gentlemen doing tonight?
Super
Groovy.
fantastic. But are we sure this is week 5? We had a little discrepancy in our chat earlier about what week we were on, and I think me and Jacob had the biggest heart attack out of anyone because I was like, wait a minute, you posted week 5,
math.
like, this is week 4.
I did the math, man. 5 times 85 is 425, and we're on page 427. We're dead. We're good. We are week 5. I got it. We're good, guys. We're good.
Mathing is hard sometimes.
It's tough when like this is a busy time of year, and then we got family stuff coming up, and we've had to reschedule a few of them, and then I of course have the LCI Book Club, which is with members of who signed up, and we're doing a private discussion as well. So we all have way too many things going on, and we're just one person's each of us, so it gets to be a lot. So I don't know what this comment here. My apology. I saw Provoked and spoke.
You're allowed to speak. Hi, Julie. What's up? This is Julie Curtis. She's in my chats usually on Friday. Hey, girl. Hey.
Oh, nice. Yeah, no, but everyone, please, if you're watching, go ahead and comment, and we'll definitely interact with you guys. This show is going to be a little bit of everything tonight because I think we're going to try to mix in some comment on some of the juicy stuff that's happened today because today's been a day in the news cycle. It's been a couple days actually, you could say.
Yeah, weekend
all in
sure.
one. But let's not waste too much time. I guess I will throw the mic over after I hold on. Bear with me, guys. I do this professionally. There we go. Automatically went to the right format even right away. There we go. So Shawn is going to kick us off with this week's section. So, Shawn, go ahead.
You know what? I'm not going to.
Before we continue, Shawn, if I may, can I ask you just to put up this comment? I'm going to post it right now. There's a give, send, go going on for Dr. Michael Rechtenwald. He had open heart surgery or something happened to him. So Chase put something out for him. So we're going to put that give, send, go up. I'm doing some fundraiser on Thursday. I'm just asking people if they want to jump on just to say some stuff. We'll try to just keep people like do a Q&A and whatever and just do something, and we'll keep that up for them. So
that's actually
hope you get better, Doc.
Dude, and Chase Oliver, we have our differences or whatever, but man, that was mad respect for him to post about that and, post about the give, send, go and stuff like that. That was the kudos to him. I know we had our differences and stuff, but when it comes to helping out other human beings, I'm down with being on the same page for that. Chase Oliver, I know you're not watching, but if somebody catches this and tells them, yo, dude, kudos, man. But
and I did add him and thank him directly for his post and told him he's welcome to jump on if he wants to. So like I said, I'm going to leave this as open as I can for everyone. Hopefully we can do something for him.
But you said I could kick off the show and get the show started with the Provoked stuff, but I'm not going to get the show started with Provoked stuff because dissident media has just reported Ross Ulbricht will be pardoned in the early rounds of executive actions inside White House. Sources confirmed. Let's go! Wow,
Frank the Tank. Yes.
Yeah,
free Ross now. Free Ross now.
Go, man.
Got that.
I literally got on my knees and prayed for Ross Ulbricht today. I did. I prayed hard for that man because I know that the new president cannot be trusted with promises. But it looks like he's going to keep this one, man. This is a big, big freaking deal. The guy did nothing wrong besides start a website, and because some idiot sold drugs on it, he got in trouble for it. Wow. Well, let me break this into perspective for you. people sell drugs on their cellular phones, on their and their T-Mobiles and stuff like that. So why aren't the CEOs or the owners of these phone companies getting arrested for the same thing? Gee, I don't know. It probably has something to do with a website that the government couldn't control. But I digress. Ross Ulbricht will be freed. This is amazing. Thank God for this, man. This is so cool, man. This is, an answered prayer by a lot of libertarians. I know Trump didn't keep his promise.
He kept a promise. He kept a promise.
That one, it looks like he's keeping that one. So, man, let's freaking go, dude. This is amazing. But on to business. I had to do it. I couldn't help myself because it literally just came through the wire right before we got this show started. And I'm like, you know what? This is good news before we blackpill everybody about war. And what's going on.
Speaking of war, this comment needs to be highlighted because now it's not enough to just pardon Ross, which I hope was actually going to commute Ross. So I hope that happens. And then he needs to pardon Assange and Snowden 100%. We're actually
Assange needs a full pardon. He does not need time served. He needs a full pardon for anything. He needs to be absolved.
And so does Edward Snowden. But I will say this about Snowden. Whether he's pardoned or not, he's not safe in the United States. He is much safer in Moscow where he resides now, because if he comes here, the state is going to go after him 100%, whether he's pardoned or not. They are going to come for him, which is a sad state of affairs. But anyways, let's dig into this book because I'm starting it off. And I'm going to start off by reading just because the opening section of my ultra-violence part starts with liberal fascism. And we just said, well, we kind of said goodbye to the liberals today. We know the Republican Party is full of liberals, but I digress. Anyways, liberal fascism. The typical typical elitist liberal in Kiev felt the same way about it as the Nazis. They explained their frustration with the people of the East getting in the way of their desire to turn to the West. This is what I heard from a respectable source in Kiev. Journalist Keith Gesson wrote, not from nationalists, but from liberals, from professionals and journalists. All bad people were in one place. Why not kill them all? Wow. Isn't that a very liberal thing to say, man? The liberals love death and destruction and murder and stuff like that. But anyways, let's dig into it. You break it down from like the end of the Maidan Revolution in 2014, and they ousted President Viktor Yanukovych. Eastern Ukraine, particularly Donbass, rejected the new Kiev government, leading to uprisings that evolved into war. Go figure. Wow. Ukrainians, of course, had a military action. The Ukrainian government launched a military campaign against separatists in Donbass, which involved indiscriminate shelling, airstrikes, cluster bombs on civilian areas. Human rights organizations, including the UN, documented the widespread abuses, including unlawful detentions, torture, and civilian casualties. Government forces were criticized for their use of imprecise weapons in urban areas, which had some major civil impacts, by the way. Over 14,000 people were slaughtered during that campaign between 2014 and 2015, including civilians, many displaced from their homes due to the violence. Civilian casualties continued beyond this period, with most deaths occurring in rebel-held territories. Go figure. Then all of a sudden, NATO's got to be involved. They got to butt their nose into everything like that. And at the end of the day, we know what it is, because that's why we're doing this book club right now. It's because NATO likes to butt their nose in business that doesn't belong. NATO criticized Russia for its annexation of Crimea and alleged interference in Ukraine. The 2014 Wales Summit Declaration emphasized NATO's support for Ukraine. Despite international support for Kiev, the national-local dynamics, primarily between Ukrainian forces and local separatists, are highlighted. The Russian involvement, of course, because you have to add in Russia for everything because Russia, just like Marsha. I know I like to add in my own cameos. I'm sorry, guys. I'm an ad-lib guy. I think I'm funny. If you don't, I'm sorry. But anyways, claims of widespread Russian military intervention in 2014 to 2015 were challenged with evidence suggested limited involvement initially. I'm sorry. I can't read my own writing. The separatists were largely composed of large fighters and defected Ukrainian troops with minimal Russian regular troop presence. However, Russia was accused of supplying arms and logistical support. Let's move on to some Minsk agreements. In 2014, aimed at achieving a ceasefire and granting autonomy to Donbass. Am I saying that? Or is it Donbass? Am I saying that right? I don't got Mr. J in here this week telling me how to speak Russian or Ukrainian.
I say Donbass.
I'm saying
Donbass
too. I just got to make sure we don't got a Mr. J telling me how to speak Russian or Ukrainian. I got to make sure. Yeah, that's my dig for the week. Anyways, Minsk Agreement 1, 2014, aimed at achieving a ceasefire and granting autonomy to Donbass. The agreement was unsuccessful and the fighting continued. Minsk Agreement 2, 2015, built on the first agreement with provisions for constitutional reforms and elections in Donbass. Ukraine failed to implement key terms, leading to a frozen conflict. And of course, there was economic factors through all this, of course, because you can't just have war without economic problems. Kiev policies targeted the economic infrastructure of Donbass, dismantling its industrial base to reduce Russian influence. This led to severe economic downturns in Ukraine, with GDP and industrial production plummeting. The strategy, dubbed suicide economics, was criticized for its detrimental effects both on Donbass and Ukraine. Anybody want to chime in on that, actually? I know a lot of us are econ people.
You school us on your econ, sir.
Well, I mean, here's the catch, guys. Here's the catch, because I am an econ guy and I am very well versed in Austrian economics, particularly. Wars cost money. You got to pay soldiers. You got to feed them. You got to do stuff like that. And if your country is not bringing in enough income to support said wars, you're going to have economic problems because they are printing money at that point, devaluing the dollar and destroying the economy. We've seen this here in the United States, well, for the past 24 years at least.
But does money printer go burr?
Money printer does go burr, and it happens everywhere. It's not just a United States problem, you know? So, of course, there's going to be economic downfalls from this stuff, of course. But when you move on to international criticism of U.S. and NATO policies. Oh, I'm sorry. I got way ahead of myself. Kiev policies targeted the economic infrastructure of Donbass, dismantling its industrial base to reduce Russian influence. This led to severe economic downturns in Ukraine, with GDP and industrial production plummeting. The strategy, dubbed suicide economics, was criticized as detrimental to the effects in Donbass and Ukraine. I already read that. Holy shit. Sorry. I get too excited sometimes, you guys. But the international criticisms. Anyways, the document criticizes U.S. involvement in Ukraine, including the role in supporting regime change in 2014 and providing arms and intelligence to Kiev. The former U.S. President Barack Obama expressed concerns about arming Ukraine, fearing it would provoke Russia and escalate the conflict. Except he did it anyway. While Obama says that after the fact, he was doing it anyways. He's the one who overthrew the government in 2014. These people are disgusting and vile and play devil's advocate on the regular. I mean, that's just one thing right there. The MH17 tragedy, the downing of Malaysian Airlines Flight 17 in 2014, allegedly by separatists using a Buke missile, is discussed. The incident resulted in an international condemnation and highlighted the risk of ongoing conflict. Media narratives and propaganda all of a sudden walk in, which, well, we live here in the United States, and the West media and the West propaganda is absolutely false, facetious. It's all based on lies and BS narratives that have nothing to do with helping out Americans, just helping out people overseas, which is what they do on the regular. See Ukraine, see Israel. But anyways, Western media is criticized for oversimplifying the conflict as Russian aggression while ignoring Kiev's actions in Donbass. The use of the slogan Russian aggression without nuanced analysis is highlighted as misleading. Of course it is. But the humanitarian consequences that come along with it are the war in Donbass community humanitarian crisis with thousands displaced, infrastructure destroyed, and local economies devastated. The population in rebel-held areas faced intense shelling and isolation from Kiev. What are the lessons learned from that conflict? Well, on the broader implications of NATO expansion, U.S. foreign policy, and the role of the media shaping public perception, it calls for a reassessment of strategies emphasizing dialogue and adherence to agreements like Minsk Accords as alternatives to prolonged conflict. And now that's the end of the Obama era. I'm closing out Barry and Mike's stay at the White House at that point. And it's so great because the next person coming in right now is bringing in the brand new president, Donald Trump, because 45 is walking in at this time, and he's back again at 47. So y'all take over. Unless you want to chat about this a little bit, we can go.
I just want to say real quick, which Mark turned me on to Speechify, which I tried out, which is a better way to listen to ebooks than the native thing that iPhone has. And there's this one voice option for Speechify called Mr. President, which is basically just a clone of Barack Obama's voice. So listening to this section back, hearing Barack Obama explain how bad of a president Barack Obama was is just like 10 levels of Inception I didn't know I needed in my life, because it's just so comical. Anyway, yes, go ahead, Mark, and give us the rundown of then the scandal that was the Russian presidency, the truth of the Russian collusion, how Russia installed their own president into our own very White House.
Yes, sir. Gentlemen, I missed you guys. Let's get into it. So I'm going to start with Mr. 47 announcing his initial candidacy. So I'm going to share video clips. I'll let us talk about it. Then I'll share the next clip. You'll follow me. It's going to be fun. I don't like hearing myself talk anymore. So I'm going to share some of this stuff, but I spent a lot of time clipping this stuff. You're going to love the propaganda. It's so beautiful. All right, let me start sharing this stuff. All right, here we go.
If you can't make a good deal with a politician, then there's something wrong with you. You're certainly not very good. And that's what we have representing us. They will never make America great again. They don't even have a chance. They're controlled fully. They're controlled fully by the lobbyists, by the donors, and by the special interests, fully. They control them. Hey, I have lobbyists, I have to tell you. I have lobbyists that can produce anything for me. They're great. But you know what? It won't happen. It won't happen. Because we have to stop doing things for some people, but for this country, it's destroying our country. We have to stop, and it has to stop now. Now, our country needs a truly great leader. And we need a truly great leader now. We need a leader that wrote The Art of the Deal. We need a
Of course
leader
we do.
that
Of
can
course we
bring
need
back
that.
our jobs, can bring back our manufacturing, can bring back our military, can take care of our vets. Our vets have been abandoned. And we also need a cheerleader. You know, when President Obama was elected, I said, well, the one thing I think he'll do well, I think he'll be a great cheerleader for the country. I think he'd be a great spirit. He was vibrant. He was young. I really thought that he would be a great cheerleader. He's not a leader, that's true. You're right about that. But he wasn't a cheerleader. He's actually a negative force. He's been a negative force. He wasn't a cheerleader. He was the opposite. We need somebody that can take the brand of the United States and make it great again. It's not great again. We need somebody. We need somebody that literally will take this country and make it great again.
I swear it's the
We
longest
can do
clip, I
that.
promise.
And
The other ones
I
are
will
short.
tell you, I love my life. I have a wonderful family. They're saying, Dad, you're going to do something that's going to be so tough. You know, all of my life I've heard that a truly successful person, a really, really successful person, and even modestly successful, cannot run for public office. Just can't happen. And yet that's the kind of mindset that you need to make this country great again. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am officially running for President of the United States, and we are going to make our country great again.
And please share your thoughts on that. And this is 16 or 15, right? When he announces his presidency or his run.
I mean,
I'm not going to have many friends if I answer that. I'm not going to have many friends if I answer that.
it's funny listening to that where I'm at now, because like back when he was giving that speech, I was still a lefty, and I was convinced that we were about to live under fascist rule, which the left is still convinced that we're about to live under fascist rule. Which is funny when they simultaneously say we're going to live under fascist rule, but then when people try to take out fascists, they go, well, we condemn political violence. And then simultaneously go, like, we're going to facilitate the peaceful transfer of power to this fascist dictator. It's like, I can't even do the mental gymnastics needed to make that sail in your brain.
I'm going to pipe in because I'm not happy right now.
All right.
The guy talks about lobbyists in there, and I know this is 2016 and this is 2024, but the narrative doesn't change and things don't change. Who took $100 million from Murray and Madison? Donald Trump did. Who's Murray and Madison?
True.
Who is she? She's a Zionist pig who will see to it that Israel gets their way no matter what. Now have a look at Trump's cabinet. Probably about 2/3 Zionist pigs, 1/3 peace. Some people say half and half. I see a lot different.
I will say, regardless of what Trump did and who he took, whoever he took, right? Like that speech right there does strike it, the frustration that America felt in that time.
Well, of course it did. And he knew what he
Like,
was
we're just sitting there, lobbies being bought. This stuff is crazy. War. We got to get out of this stuff. Like the guy spoke it sounded pretty lucid to me.
Here's the problem.
And I don't agree with a lot of his policy. I'm just saying when he spoke there, it sounded pretty darn compelling, didn't it?
It always does.
Yeah. But here's the problem.
Yeah.
Trump at his best will maybe like sell what would be like a wish.com version of Ron Paul, which is still a version of Ron Paul. So like it sounds good, right? But then he governs like a centrist Democrat from the 90s.
Right.
Which, to be fair, you might say is better than a wacko leftist Democrat from the 2000s. Fair enough. Like, you know, there's an argument to be made there, maybe. But
I think the three of us are in agreement that it's controlled opposition, right? Like there's opposition and then there's controlled opposition. Like that's just literally all there is.
Okay,
I don't know that he's controlled opposition, but I think there is such a thing as.
Well, I'm talking about the Republicans as a whole because they have to push those policies through, right?
Yes,
those fiscal policies.
But Trump is simultaneous. And here's the problem: because Trump doesn't have an actual ideological backbone, what he ends up being is a useful idiot. Now, at times, he's a useful idiot for our side. But then other times, he's a useful idiot for the deep state and for the elites. And the problem is, it's like you have dissidents and the establishment trying to vie for Trump's attention to leverage this very, unfortunately, powerful, useful idiot in their direction. It's a very unique phenomenon in American politics. And
for sure.
Anyway, continue.
The election approacheth, and Hillary is supposed to win. You guys remember the 92%? She was supposed to win like 92-8. You guys remember that? Because there was a specific thing, like the deep state said she's going to win 92% of the vote. There was this huge sweeping thing, right? Well, let us see how the election turned out on that day. It's only 2 minutes. It's glorious. I love sharing the failure. I love the agony of defeat for some people. This is the one that I love, the agony of defeat. Let me share her.
First and foremost, it's finally here.
Going into this night, where do we stand?
This is where we stood coming into the night. 268 to 204. So clearly an advantage for Secretary Clinton.
Take a look here. If Donald Trump wins tonight, no matter who they voted for, take a look at these numbers here. 21% say they'll be concerned.
Already with the propaganda.
37% say they'll be scared.
This is what both candidates want. They want to be living there starting January 20th of next year. Florida's been going back and forth. Just changed again. It's only 11,000 vote lead just now. It changed.
Math on your feet. I like this.
The Empire State Building in New York City. Take a look at our running tally, the electoral vote. Anderson, this night is turning out to be a real nail biter.
All along, the Trump campaign has been saying that Florida's must win for them. And I mean,
they can't win without it.
Donald Trump will carry the state of Florida.
You know, I'm guessing that the people in Brooklyn, I can see their fingers.
That's
probably.
The Hillary Clinton headquarters.
Yeah, fingers probably bleeding because there's no more nail to bite.
I wouldn't call anything encouraging for Hillary Clinton at the moment, to be honest with you, my friend.
Wolf, the scene here is so different than it was a few hours ago when people were happy and relaxed. I have been looking around the room at people who are stone-faced. Some of them have been crying.
This was a white lash against a changing country. It was a white lash against a black president.
This is the people rising up.
White lash against a black president. Thanks, Van Jones.
In Wisconsin and work for the people.
Hillary Clinton has called Donald Trump to concede the race.
All right. Thoughts, gentlemen? I love watching that absolute crumble. Every time I will watch.
That's not as bad. That's not as bad as the or good, depending on which way you look at it. You ever see like the Young Turks compilation of the Young Turks slowly going insane as election night goes on back in 2016?
I can see Kasparian melting down for sure.
It's funny how she's come. She's had a weird evolution.
Yeah, let's not talk. Yeah, it's not. Yeah. I don't think there's thought behind it. I think there's just she gets influenced because she realizes.
Maybe. But no, it's again, it's interesting because I came from that world. Like that, what was it, 21% concerned, 30-something% scared. Like that's about where I was at because I didn't like
58% of people were concerned or scared in 16 for Trump. Get out of here. The game show host, the guy from The Apprentice, really? That guy? Come on.
You're fired.
But so and then when it didn't end up being, not that it was a great presidency, but when it ended up being like more of the same than what people were selling, I mean that, and then when Russiagate, I mean we're going to get into all that, but I mean that really, I think, broke a lot of people. And then maybe COVID sort of delayed the effect, but I think now people look back at COVID and also like the insanity of what we're about to get into in the Trump years. And even if they don't like Trump, they have to realize like, oh, okay, so we used to think that maybe the people just lied us into wars, but they also lie to us about everything going on in our own country too. And often, by the way, it's the same people doing both.
What a shocker. So, all right.
Plot
so
twist.
I've got another thing. I've got one more video clip, and then I've got one at the end of the show that I'll share because I think just like Shawn, I'm a percentage comedian. I will throw everything against the wall and see what sticks.
I think you're a hoot
But-
too. Don't worry about it.
Oh, thanks, buddy. So you guys remember she conceded. And then the dossier. Russiagate. Bum bum bum.
No!
Oh no. Oh no. So the propaganda gets so deep. Guys, the stuff they were selling in this dossier. I clipped an 11-minute Colbert Report thing from his show down to 2 minutes. And I hope it's the funniest 2 minutes we'll see. Apologies to the Christians. We're right on the edge. We're PG-13 and a half. I swear. We're good. We're still on this side. I promise. But
We're not
this
Shawn last
is,
week.
this is what they tried to sell the American public, ladies and gentlemen. This story was in the Steele dossier. This one. Okay. I just got to play it because it just makes me.
Do it.
I just lose it. Go ahead, John. All right. Here we go.
This might be my favorite night of the entire Russia week, because this night is really why I went.
Room 1101, the presidential suite of the Ritz-Carlton Hotel. I rented it.
Beep, beep, hey, beep, beep, hey.
That was on national television, gentlemen.
These people are fine. That's normal adult behavior.
This is a guy that danced with the vaccine needles, right? You guys remember that? Holy mackerel. All right. So that is just the tip of the iceberg of the Russiagate. And literally all my section was about how badly the media, the deep state, and everyone is just piling on to Trump. And I am not claiming Trump to be anything good or bad or anything. I just can clearly tell when they don't like him, and they clearly don't. So I will hand it off.
I mean, leave it up to the left to be excited about piss and scat and everything else. I mean, wow, go figure, man. And they're the ones who call us weird, right? They're calling us weird, or they call a lot of the Trump supporters weird. I'm sorry, I'm not one of them. But they're calling people outside of their little echo chamber weird and whatnot. But they're really excited about piss tapes and whatnot. Like, are you kidding me? Like, we live in the circus. We really do live in the circus, and the animals are in DC. That's what I got.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the most interesting things of that section was like, and again, like, this is so tough, right? Like, this makes me angry. It makes me angry that the left is so unhinged that I'm forced to defend Donald Trump as often as I am. I don't want to defend Donald Trump. I want to call him out on his many bad policies, on his many bad even statements of rhetoric, on, any number of economic or political blunders that he's committed, right? But as we alluded to before, Trump sometimes says the right thing and even sometimes attempts the right thing, even if it's for flawed reasons. And Scott did a great job at demonstrating how these people, largely neocons or warhawks, were freaking out because Trump dared to question the sanctity of NATO, the sanctity of the American empire, and to ask, I don't know, sort of 10th, 11th grade level basic questions like, hey, why are we supporting the Mujahideen and these bin Ladenites if we're fighting a war on terror? what's up with that, right?
Valid.
like it doesn't take a rocket scientist to be like, I don't know if that math really maths for me, right? Like, so anyway, so yeah, we're in Russiagate territory. I mean, there is so much insanity in this, like, that I don't know if people ever go back and learn the truth about all of the different stories and claims that ended up being false, right? Like within the Steele dossier, there was an accusation against Trump advisor Carter Page of negotiating with Russian officials to influence foreign policy, despite Page being a known CIA asset. And so the FBI just basically omits this and other evidence, continues its investigation, and issues very controversial FISA warrants, which then the Durham investigation later revealed that the dossier was unverified and Page's denials were ignored in order to sustain the narrative, right? That's what this all was about. This was about begging the question of, we need Trump to be this big boogie bad man. We need to, again, and it's like I think I said this earlier, because this was my main takeaway from this entire thing. I think you guys agree with me that, like, these are largely the same actors, right? Even like what's his name? I'm forgetting his name. The one Comey. I mean, these are part of the same people who lied about the Iraq War, who lied about so many things in our foreign interventions in the 2000s, and then suddenly, like, it's funny because this whole, like, the last 4 or 5 years since 2020, since Insurrection Day, which is the most disappointingly named day ever because it wasn't an insurrection.
I wish it was.
Cooler. Yeah, it'd be a lot cooler if it was.
I wish it was.
Not that I listen. Here at LCI, we are a nonprofit. We are Christians. We do not endorse violence or political violence. We do not call for it. We do not condone it. I would, however, just point out certain facts that, like, our country was founded on an insurrection, and that it's at least part of this country's origins, the belief that there is a right for the people who are governed to overthrow their government if that government said does no longer uphold their end of said social contract. Again, I don't endorse that. I don't even believe in the social contract. So that's not even my viewpoint. I'm just saying that by their own standards,
but
that's
Jacob,
all ridiculous.
Jacob, did Jesus not tell us to trade in our garments for swords? Because I believe that's in the Bible. I can guarantee you that's in the Bible. Jesus told people to trade their garments in for swords so they could.
But there's some more. There's some more context.
We only
to that
need to go
passage.
back to Henry David Thoreau, don't we? Civil disobedience, right? Can we just go back that far?
I'm just throwing that in there. I'm throwing in some commentary, y'all.
Anyway, so there's just I have so many things here. I don't necessarily want to bring them all up. There's just a list of it. There's General Mike Flynn was targeted over a routine call to Russian ambassadors. Just talking to Russia is evil, right? The fact that Trump went over and visited Russia once, then like they made up all these stories about how all these secret meetings and whatnot that they had with the Kremlin, which of course, like, not a single site, not a single piece of collaborating evidence for any of these claims. John Brennan and the Clinton campaign, we know that they collaborated to promote this collusion narrative, with Brennan enlisting foreign intelligence to surveil Trump's team, and this so-called Clinton plan was approved by Hillary Clinton, and it was to distract people from her email scandal by framing Trump as colluding with Russia. And evidence of this plan was presented to Obama and Comey and others, but it was conveniently ignored by investigators, right? I'm sure there's no, I guess they just determined it, it probably wasn't relevant, right? Like, that was just an honest mistake by them, I'm sure.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Everything with them is an honest mistake, or they can investigate themselves and nothing's wrong. I mean, there's nothing new under the sun, honestly. But I can't remember. I'm having a brain fart here. Are we to the point in the book about the phone call or no?
The Newland phone call?
We
No,
already
the
talked about that, I
important phone
thought.
call. The important phone call that got Trump impeached in the first place.
Oh, no, I don't think we got there yet.
I don't think we got there
on
yet.
this point,
I don't want to get
on this point though. Well, that's the thing. Like we've got Hillary, right? She's conceding, but she's clearly not conceding. The DNC hack, right, is CrowdStrike. It's a Ukrainian cybersecurity company that just got hacked. Didn't it get hacked? Like when did it shut off half the world? Like 6 months ago? How many months? A few months ago? Didn't half the world shut down for a second? That was a CrowdStrike thing. So what a shocker. It just happens to be in Ukraine again. A cybersecurity company from Ukraine in Ukraine with you. What? Like, I don't think you can make this stuff up, guy. Like the pieces or the breadcrumbs are just like lying there, just in a big pile. They're all swept together for us. It's crazy.
I feel like it's all been breadcrumbs, dude. It's always something. It's always something that's either right out in front of you or something that's been thrown off to the side, but then you kind of sweep it up and you figure it out. I feel like this has been this whole book the entire time, to be quite honest with you. It's like there's some things that were very out in the open, and then there were some things that weren't so much out in the open, but got brought into fruition. And here we are, and we have a media outlet here in the United States that will continuously lie to you and give you the narrative that is the exact opposite of what's really going on over there. And we really need folks to wake up to this. Like, you guys, buy this book, buy it, read it, study it, watch these shows. Like, I'm telling you right now, look, Scott Horton is the absolute best when it comes to foreign policy. There's nobody better. I will die on the hill for that. Honestly, I will, because not only is he bringing you facts, the dude has all the receipts you need, man. Like all of them, like everything he talks about, he has receipts. This is why, like when people try to debate him, he makes them look stupid, because a lot of them, impose their opinions rather than bringing on a receipt for something. He's like, no, look, I have this. And dude, every page, I mean, God, you guys can't see this. Like 80% of the page is how do you work the camera here? Is like actual book. And then the other 20% is just footnotes of receipts that the guy has brought you. Like, you can look up everything. It's all there for you. So how can somebody say, these lunatics that are like, well, this guy's just talking Russian propaganda or whatever. He's got the receipts. He's giving them to you in his book. So if you can't accept that, that's on you. That's not on him. That's not on us. We're doing the best we can to bring you the proper information or whatever. But like, look, you're being lied to. And if you're a Gen Xer like myself or Mark, or you're a older millennial, and I believe, Jacob, you're a millennial, correct?
That's right.
Younger millennial.
Yeah, I'm on the ladder. I'm born 92, I think. So I'm like 3 or 4 years away from the cutoff.
Okay. So but your people didn't have to go to Iraq and Afghanistan. Your people didn't have to do that. That was our people. That was the older Gen Xers, or I'm sorry, the younger Gen Xers, and probably some older ones too, but also the older millennials had to go there. And they tried to, relive this stuff over and over again. We're like, most of us, you see that meme with Michael J. Fox in Back to the Future, and he's like, hey, I've seen that one before. People like Mark and myself right now are like, hey, when it comes to all of this, whether it's Ukraine or Israel or anything else, all of us are saying, hey, we've seen this one before. They're doing the exact same thing they did to us verbatim, except they're doing it to our children and our grandchildren now. And that's the craziest part, is like, look, if you're a Zoomer or a younger millennial or a alpha or whatever it is, come talk to us, dude. We're going to tell you exactly how it is and what we know and how we know it and why we know it, because we're the ones who fell for it the first time and then woke up and found out that we had been lied to. And now we're exposing the lies. you know, and not to say like, hey, pat on the back or whatever. I'm just saying, hey, we got a little bit of wisdom and experience in this stuff, and we need to, you know, bring it to a head, but also be educational about it instead of being, you know, like I was on the last show, a little bit argumentative with the guy that, you know, was disagreeing with us or whatever. That was my bad, and I apologize for that.
Well, so let me get into this. This is good, right? There's so many touchstones in this book, right? And I think every week I make this statement, but it's just true every week where you go, that I've smelled that before, right? Or like I've seen this one before, right? Like we're watching a rerun, even though we haven't read this section yet. So there was this focus during this whole saga on this Russian troll farm, internet research agency, which was accused of swaying the 2016 election through social media ads. However, later studies were showed that there was really no impact on voter behavior because of that. And the point I want to make out of this was that, like, isn't it funny, right? That the same people who will, I don't know, right, like spend millions of dollars to do exit polling in other countries' elections, to throw on like multiple rock concerts to keep protesters engaged during these, you know, different color-coded revolutions and whatnot, who will, you know, create all sorts of, whether it's billboards or literature, all that stuff. Again, we talked about, I think last week, about the how much money was spent during the different color-coded revolutions, like in Ukraine and some of the other regions around Russia, right? Like, that's all okay. But if a Russian agency creates some social media ads, democracy is under attack, right? I mean, it's just like, I mean, there's two things there. It's like, one, it's rules for thee and not for me, but also it's beyond that. It's either you can't have it both ways. Either governments and other countries trying to put their own narrative into a democratic election of another country is not okay, and it can have an impact or it can't, right? And by even saying, oh, these social media ads can have an impact, it's like, oh, okay, so that would have an impact, but none of the things that you do, none of the things that the NED does, or the, I forget all the other three other ones, all those different, you know, pro-democracy NGOs and whatnot, none of that makes an impact at all, right? Because like, if they'll simultaneously say that Russia is interfering in our election, but if you try to point out America played a huge role in like the Orange Revolution, then you're you're just on the payroll of the Kremlin.
Because
right, I do have to
arguments. They have no arguments other than to tell you you're a Putin sympathizer or you know, a Kremlin whatever guy or anything. They don't have any valid arguments because they know they're wrong. So instead, they're just going to bastardize you or what you're saying, because that's all they have at that point. It's like the social media MO pretty much. Like if you've ever argued with an idiot online, the first thing they're going to do when you got them is tell you you're, you know, anti-Semite or a Putin sympathizer or whatever it is. That's their go-to because they don't have anything else. And once they start doing that, you have won. It's over. Like, that's it.
Well, 2 points on this, because it's funny, because we talk about influence. Watch Robert Epstein's work. Look up Robert Epstein and Google and how they directed traffic and how they steered people's minds during the 2020 election. And definitely before that as well, but it really ramped up at that point. Robert Epstein, not Jeffrey, Robert. Very interesting story. But that's the first part. Second part was, thanks to this book, I got together with a gentleman from an NGO cutout in Canada called the Center for Eastern European Democracy last week. And I had an hour plus debate with him over Ukraine. And he kept saying Putin points. You kept having Putin points. I go, and I could argue you of having CIA points. So let's like put those aside and then talk about this stuff, right? So it's crazy how much like this stuff has prepped me to talk about this with people who actually are very educated about this subject. So I would always recommend that people pick this up when he can.
What was Barack Obama having Putin points when? Because I think during Shawn's section there was a discussion where Obama brought in some of like his top foreign policy wanks and advisors and was like, so like, why are we doing what we're doing over here? Like, is this really the best use of our time and military resources and all that? And like, you know, like why is like, and not that Obama's doing it from a anti-war perspective, but like he's just like doing like due diligence, right? I'd have to find the exact section to remember more of it, but I just remember that and thinking like, and that's not the only instance. There's so many instances where presidents and the advisors to presidents are saying the exact things that Scott is saying in this book, but back then when they said it, I guess it was fine, but if you say it now, it's Putin talking points, right? It's like, it's just insanity. These people don't have principles. They literally just do whatever they can to fit their narrative and to fuel their claims to power and hold on to their, you know, this game they have, right? Like they have this very elaborate game that allows them to kind of be like use the word, like it's like they're playing Risk, right? And they're getting like rich playing Risk and don't realize that like, hey, we might object to this because like, you know, you're actually using human lives. You're not just playing a board game. You guys have any other thoughts?
They treat us.
I mean, I've got a final thought, so I'm ready. I have something to share. I've got a final clip, but that'll be.
Yeah. Do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. I'll do this one, guys. So, you guys remember that the Donald and Barack met and they got to speak at Carter's funeral.
And they're really.
I do have to share this video. I have to share this video. It's unbelievable. So, and then I'll share you what they actually said because I did have professional lip readers look at it, and they told me exactly what they said. So, it's beautiful.
What exactly did they say to each other? The world wants to know what political rivals Donald Trump and Barack Obama were chatting about at Jimmy Carter's funeral. They sure looked friendly. They chuckled like old buddies. Trump even made Obama laugh. So what did they say?
I had professional lip readers say, I swear to God, I had a professional. I paid thousands of dollars for this. He said, I paid the hookers for the sex, but they peed for free. No lie. I swear that's what happened. That's exactly what he said. 100% came right out of his face. That's why Obama laughed. He's like, oh that's great. So,
well, I mean, I just want to know if that today when Trump put his hand on the Bible and got sworn into oath or whatever, I want to know if that Bible came from the same hotel room that he screwed Stormy Daniels in.
Oh. I thought he didn't put his hand on the Bible, or is that just more fake news? I saw so many things posted today, I couldn't vet all of them.
Oh, you're going to see it all, baby. It's going to be freaking, it's going to be media frenzy 2.0, 7.0 for months at this point, months. And it's going to be glorious. I'm here for all of it because you want to know what, guys? It makes our job as podcasters so flippin' easy when material just literally falls onto our lap like a stripper you paid $10 for.
Well, listen, I'll close on this. I got my biblical anarchy podcast whiskey glass here,
Tumbler.
which you guys can go find those go to biblicalanarchypodcast.com and then go to the merchandise section. Get yourself a coffee mug or a nice little whiskey tumbler, little rock glass here. I just finished a glass of Jack Daniels. But I'll propose a toast to our outgoing president, because in his waning hours, in the last days, and in one final breath of his regime, of his time in power, he decided to use that power to pardon political prisoners, people who had been unjustly imprisoned, and warriors who were out there on the front lines protecting us from the viruses that they made, such as the great Anthony Fauci. I mean, listen, it takes a lot of stones to pardon your son for, things that would get anyone else life in prison, right? But it takes special kind of stones to preemptively pardon an architect of the COVID regime before anyone has even attempted to open up a committee or investigation against him. So kudos to Mr. Biden, sir, for the last remaining cognitive functions he had went towards something so corrupt that I just have to tip my hat off to him.
I have to share this. Every morning I wake up and I set my alarm, I get up, I go downstairs, and I have the news played from like all the corporate stuff so I can read in between the lines and tell me what they said. My girlfriend is a teacher, so she happens to have off today because it's a holiday as well. And I wake her up at 6:31 in the morning with F-bombs and explicits like you've never heard in your entire life. The windows are rattling and I'm yelling Fauci and Millie back and forth, having an absolute conniption. The skin is separating from my skull as I just yell at every non-cloud in Arizona, man. I am so furious. And we must prosecute these people with the state. We must send the states after these bastards. That's all I have to say. That's as mean as I'm going to get. That's as mean as I'm going to say my words. But these people, I cannot accept this. I cannot accept this. But I am, because I'm American and I still pay taxes, even though I think it's theft.
Not my president. Kidding.
What would our founding
Sorry, guys.
fathers
I just got so mad. I mean, it was
No,
so
no,
angry
no,
to hear that.
I hear you. And listen, our founding fathers, not perfect people, not even by libertarian standards, right? Not even by the standards of their day. But like, man, I just want to people like will make AI impersonations of like famous people. Someone needs to make like an AI rendition of like Thomas Jefferson and like Payne and Washington and Hamilton, just like reacting to different news stories every day. That would be like a 1 million subscriber YouTube channel overnight. In fact, I'm going to do it. You better not steal my ideas. I'm going to research it. I'm going to make it happen because that needs to happen. Okay, we need we
can have
need
a
George Washington.
anonymous Franklin writing
we need George Washington in AI looking at NATO, looking at like the war guarantees, looking at sending all the weapons to Ukraine and going like, I gave you one thing. One thing. No entangling alliances. I had one request.
Oh yeah, no bipartisanship, because that's how it's going to turn out.
Right,
Also,
yeah. Just like, and you did you did the exact opposite of what I said. Oh boy. Shawn, do you have any closing thoughts here, my friend, before we sign off here?
I do have some closing thoughts, and it has nothing to do with this book, actually. It has something to do with what happened today, or everything that has to do with what happened today. Buckle up, guys. We are in for a financial situation that could get very, very interesting, to say the least. I would highly recommend you learn and or figure out decentralization and nullification of your local townships, because that's the only way you're going to save yourselves from the incoming doom that could be happening. Because what I see as somebody who follows economy and stuff like that, there's going to be a major final disaster under Donald Trump's watch, and he's not even remotely talking about it. He has nothing to say about it. He has not even brought it up. He's talking about changing the Gulf to the Gulf of America and acquiring Greenland and Canada and stuff like that. And Doge is going to do these great things. Doge isn't going to do anything, by the way. Vivek already split. Actually, he's going to run for governor of Ohio. But anyways, this is a time you really need to think about protecting yourselves and your community financially and when it comes to your rights, because something major is going to happen in the monetary system within the next 4 years, probably within the next 2 years. Gold, silver, if you believe in crypto, knock yourselves out. I don't. Protect your investments. That's all I'm going to say.
Certainly the next 4 years are going to be interesting. There will probably be some good things that happen. There will be a lot of bad things that happen. There'll be more of the same, and there'll be some things that we didn't expect. But what I can guarantee you will remain the same, and what will continue to be good, is the three gentlemen you see here before you will continue on our own platforms and together, giving all of you listening to us a clear, concise, and mostly sober, I only had one glass, mostly sober-minded perspective from libertarian principles, from Christian principles, from common sense principles and perspectives on what is going on, and pointing to the truth of these things, cutting through the propaganda, and calling these governments, calling these officials, these leaders to account, and reminding people that history did not begin whenever the next big crisis started, but that there's always antecedents, there's always propaganda, and the more we dive through this book, the more we dive into these different narratives and histories, and we learn about how the government has lied to us in the past, the better we're going to be prepared for calling out their lies in the present and the future. So that's my last word. We're at week 5 here. We got 3 more to go, and hopefully no more family emergencies or holidays will slow us down, and we'll get through these next 3 weeks. And we got some guests who will be coming over the next few weeks, so stay tuned for that. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up wherever you are watching it. Subscribe to all of our channels so that you're notified whenever we're going live. And that's all I have for you guys tonight. So talk to you
Final
next
stretch
time.
of Groundhog Day, guys. Last 3 parts. All right.
All right, guys.
Take care, everybody. Hey, Thursday we're gonna be doing that rec thing. I'll put that give send go thing up the whole time. If anybody can join, if anybody wants to join, DM me directly. I'll send you the link to jump on for 2 minutes and jump off if you want. I'll just have people on and off StreamYard if that helps. If that makes anything, I've never done anything like this, so I'll try to do like a weird impromptu telethon kind of thing. So maybe it's just be fun.
I need to plug real quick that tomorrow I'm going to be joined by the one and only Spike Cohen. I had to reschedule with him from a couple weeks back, but he's coming on tomorrow. I believe that's at 7:30 or 8, but just make sure, go to @BiblicalAnarchy on X. You'll see announcements about that tomorrow. And then I think I have another stream coming up later this week. I can't remember when it is or what it is, but you can find all that out at @BiblicalAnarchy on X. And that's it. We are outies. See you guys next time.